Okay guys, so everyone has their phones away. We are gonna do one last thing on our last A day of the school year. You just need a piece of paper. We're doing 4 problems. The reason we're doing this is because no matter what math class you take next year, it is not gonna be geometry, right? And you're going to need to know how to factor. Now, last class, I taught you how to factor a trinomial that looks like, I don't know, one of these, where you have the leading coefficient in front of x squared is a 1. So you would put your parentheses, you put your x's, you figure out if it's plus plus, minus minus, or plus minus, and then figure out what 2 numbers, when you multiply, you end up with the c, last number, and when you add, you get the b, the middle number, right? There's one additional step when the number in front of x squared is something other than 1, and it gets a little bit trickier, and that's what I want to go over today. So, I might be able to attach this worksheet. I'll have to look and see. So take a look at number 1. So 3x squared plus 8x plus 5. I have a video called Guess and Check versus Grouping. This is pretty much the concept that I'm going to teach you today, and I asked you to watch it before today, so hopefully if you did, you'll have an idea about what we're doing. So there are kind of 2 methods that you can go about doing this. And there are actually more than 2 methods. There are all sorts of different methods for factoring, but these are the best 2 ways to do it. You should just listen to me because I'm old and know what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm teaching this for years. So I'm going to start with guess and check. Guess and check is very similar to what we've already done. You put your parentheses and you put your x's. Of course, they're not going to be x times x because this is a 3x squared. However, there are only 2 numbers that multiply to give you 3 because 3 is a prime number. I see a lot of people that don't have paper out and are on their phones. And this is very important to me. So you need a piece of paper and a pencil or a crayon or a highlighter or something. You know, it's almost summer, but this is important. Este es muy importante para ustedes. How's my accent? Could be better, right?
I don't take Spanish, so.
It's been a while. I used to be decent. So here, since 3 is a prime number, we know it's 3 times 1. So we know one of them has to be 3x, the other one has to be x. In this example, we know this is also going to be plus plus, because we're plus 8x plus 5. These 2 numbers have to be a 5 and a 1, because the c, which is a 5, is also a prime number. So it's 5 times 1. There's no other numbers that multiply to give you 5, besides 5 and 1. We just don't know where to put the 5 and the 1. Do we put the 5 here, or do we put the 1 here? We know that 1 times 5 is going to give us 5, and we know that 3x times x is going to give us 3x squared. What we don't know is where to put the 1 and the 5, so we end up with 8x. And here's what needs to happen for that. When we multiply the outer terms and the inner terms, and then add them together, we need 8. So if I put the 5, this isn't right. If I put the 5 here and the 1 here, I'm going to get 15x plus 1x. That's not 8. So I have to switch them. Put the 5 here and the 1 here, because 3 times 1 is 3x, and 5 times x is 5x. 3x plus 5x is 8x. Are you with me? That's the easiest way to do this problem, and it's a pretty simple problem because a and c are both prime numbers. So in this case, you would absolutely want to guess and check because it's the easiest way to do it, okay? However, if those numbers, 3 and 5, are not prime numbers, if they're numbers like 24 or 12, where there are more than one way to multiply to give you that number, like 12 is 3 times 4, or it could be 1 times 12, or it could be 2 times 6. That's a lot of guessing and checking, okay? And if it gets too complicated and too hard to guess, then we go to grouping. Okay, and this is how we start one of those problems. I'm going to start over. Do this exact same problem with grouping. You put an x. You multiply a times c. 3 times 5 is 15. You put that down here. You put the b up here. Then you try to figure out what two numbers. Are all the phones away? The phones are still not away, y'all. You have all summer to do that. What two numbers, when you multiply, you get 15, but when you add, you get 8. So of course that's gonna be 3 and 5, right? Because 3 plus 5 is 8, and 3 times 5 is 15. All this does, this x, all this does is give us these two numbers. And what that does is it breaks up that 8. So we're just gonna rewrite the original problem as 3x squared plus 3x plus 5x. And you can put whichever one first, it doesn't matter. We still need the 5. We don't even need that 15 anymore, it's gone. We just used it to help us find the 3 and the 5, to break up that 8 within the right two numbers. If you break up the 8 in the wrong way, then this grouping doesn't work. So now, the next thing I want to do is explain to you how to group. Concept. If you have 2 times some number, which is, we're just gonna call it x, okay, plus 3 times some number, that's the same as, because we know that's 5x, right? 2 plus 3 x's, right? So I'm gonna come back to that in just a second, okay? What we're gonna do now is we're gonna group these first two terms and the second two terms, and we're gonna factor out what they have in common. It's called GCF, factor out. These two terms each have a 3 and an x that we can factor out. So once I factor out a 3 and an x, what do I have left? X, because 3x times x is 3x squared, plus 1, because 3x times 1 is 3x. So if I do 3x times x, 3x squared, 3x times 1, 3x. So just factor that part. Hey, Karina.
Do you know where Miss Bridges is?
I think her schedule's on the door.
Okay.
I think she's in a different classroom as well. Now we go to the next two terms. Looks like we can take a 5 out. Once we pull the 5 out, we should have the same stuff that's left in this parentheses and that parentheses. If we don't, we made a mistake. Because now we're gonna go to this concept right here. We have 3x, x plus 1s, plus 5x plus 1s, for a total of 3x plus 5 x plus 1s. Notice I'm only writing the x plus 1 once. This is the exact same answer we got earlier when we did guess and check. This is much easier. How are we doing? Is everyone learning? Josh, are you paying attention? You're not paying attention. Are you watching highlights from the game last night? We can do that when I'm done. Okay, let's go to number 2. Can I erase that? I want to see the highlights anyway. Okay, this one is pretty easy to guess because 2x times x is 2x squared. But the 12, we don't know. It could be a 2 and a 6. It could be a 3 and a 4. It could be 1 and a 12. And the signs, we don't know either. They're plus or minus because of the negative 12, but I don't know which one goes where, so I'm gonna have to guess. This is why it's called guess and check. So I'm gonna put the minus here and the plus here, just guessing. And now 12 is kind of a big number. When I multiply my outer and my inner terms, I need to get -5. So, I mean, what numbers could we use? Will we start with 3 and 4 maybe? Or 6 and 2? 6 is kind of, I can't put the 6 here. If I put the 6 here, I'm gonna end up with 12 minus 2. That's nowhere near 5. When I do the other way around, here, that's 4 and -6. That's still not -5. Let me try 3 and 4. What about 3 here and 4 here? That's 8 minus 3. Oh, 8 minus 3 is 5. But we need a -5. So what could I do to make that a -5?
Swap them.
Yeah, I'm just gonna switch the signs. I'm gonna make this a -4 and this a +3. Now it's negative 8x plus 3x, negative 5x, done. That's usually how it goes with guess and check, but it's faster once you start practicing it and you do it in your head a little bit. We can do the x, which I'm gonna do that now. Ready? Two times negative 12 is negative 24. B is negative 5. What two numbers, when I multiply, I get negative 24, but when I add, I get negative 5. 3 times 8 is 24. So 3 and 8 will work. Which one's negative, which one's positive?
8 is negative.
Okay, so I'm gonna break up the negative 5 into negative 8 and 3. 2x squared, and you can put in whichever order you want. I'm putting negative 8x first. Perfect. Now, group. I'm pulling out a 2 and an x. Are people here to see me again? 2x times x, 2x squared, 2x times minus 4, negative 8. Okay. Plus 3 can be taken out. And look, we have the same thing in the parentheses there as we do here. So we're on the right track. So now we just have to put them together. We have to group them. So 2x plus 3, x minus 4s. Which is easier? The x, you have to write a little bit more and do a little bit more work, or is guessing and checking. Or some people are like, that guessing is annoying. I don't want to do the guessing. I'd rather just do the x. Anyone feel like that? It all just takes practice, and all we're doing today is I'm just exposing you to this, so when you see it next year, you will not be shocked, okay? We're gonna do one more problem. The only reason I wanna do number 3 is because it looks like you might need to do what I'm teaching you now, but you don't, because 8 is a factor in each of these terms. So you can GCF or factor out an 8. And when you do that, look what it looks like. Just like last class. So we can leave the 8 here, put the parentheses, put the x's, minus plus, what is that, negative 3 plus 2? Yeah, done. Don't even need the x. So I guess what I'm trying to show you with number 3 is make sure you check to see if there's a greatest common factor first in any problem before you start going about trying to do stuff. Cannot take anything out. First do that. Then once you do that, it looks a lot, someone say it looks a lot easier and you're practically done. All right, that's all. We're done. Happy summer.